Welcome to Guitars Over Ice Cream. Pretty excited because my old friend Tim Pierce is here, one of my favorite people and guitar players. So thanks. I appreciate you coming to hang out.
It's an honor.
We're at James Trussart's place. He made all these guitars behind us. The first thing we're going to do is discover what Tim's ice cream preference is, and if we're lucky, some will appear.
Okay, so you asked me that question, and there was no hesitation, no internal turmoil, no conflict,
no.
Pure strawberry cheesecake.
Excellent.
I mean, a lifetime of eating Baskin-Robbins strawberry cheesecake. I don't know what brand this is. I don't care, but I hear it's strawberry cheesecake, so I am very excited. And the thing is, it's going to give me the energy I need for the next 30 minutes. And then, after that, who knows? I might be asleep on the couch.
Well, plenty of couches here. It's like 8 couches to choose from throughout the house. So that is really good. That is Ben and Jerry's strawberry cheesecake. Wow, that is good. Yeah, thank you for choosing that one. So we can get into some discussion. Let's flip over the other card and find out which guitar. Oh, yeah. Wow.
I know, but it really is my favorite influence, and it's what drove me to do this.
Yeah, I would have.
He's what drove me to do this.
I'm gonna have to say that I'm on the same page with you.
I bet you are. Yeah. Maybe something about Albuquerque.
It might be
the desert and choosing Hendrix.
Tim and I both grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And, yeah,
if you guys get a chance, check out his interview with Mark Maron. I never met Mark, but because you guys came later than I did.
Another Albuquerque guy.
Yeah, but I've been listening to Mark Maron for like 9 years. I'm a super fan, and it was so great to Eric McFadden. Check out his interview.
Yeah, I've been listening to his. I love his podcast. You know, speaking of Hendrix, back in the guitar shop days when your name was always coming up, when I would go there every day after school as a kid, you know, from the time I was 12 or 13, you know, 14, 15, 16, however long it lasted. And, you know, everybody there, you know, I remember when you moved to Los Angeles, and I was probably 13 or 14 years old.
I was 20. I moved here in September. No, in August. I turned 21 here the next month. So I was at the end of year 20.
Okay.
Moved here. Yeah.
Yeah. So then.
The end of 1979.
End of 1979. Yeah. I would have turned 14 December 79.
There you go. So around.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know you that well then because.
Well, then I started hearing your name all the time.
Oh. You see, because we knew all the same people.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember once when I was working at the music factory, you know, Steve Mays had hired me. And I don't know if I was a great employee, but because I probably just sat around and played the guitars.
Same story for me. I worked at the guitar shop, and it was like, I'm getting paid to sit here and practice. Okay.
Like that, what do I do?
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
What are you gonna do?
So
but you know, I remember you came back to visit once, and you came to the store, and I saw you then. I'm like, it's Tim Pierce, and yeah, that was kind of a big deal. Mikey Wright was there at the time.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Somehow we got back in touch a while back, and I started, you know.
Hello.
Hey Tim, remember me?
I do remember you. I did remember you, and I can't forget you. You're unforgettable. But you did a great video at my studio, and we did something Hendrixy.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
We
And
did
then
Manic Depression.
yeah, and then you went down the hill and did the most amazing jam with Tom Bukovac at Norm's. That's another thing you should check out. Go to Norm's channel and check out Eric McFadden, Tom Bukovac at Norm's. It's the most amazing.
Got my enormous.
Oh yeah, that's great. It's the most amazing 4 hands working together you've ever seen. I'm not.
Wow,
it's
Tim. That's
and you just did it live, unplanned.
Oh, thanks.
Check it out. Go there. Check it out.
Oh, appreciate that.
You got it.
Know, it was a lot of fun playing with Tom. You know, as kids at that time at the guitar shop, Hendrix, right? You were into Hendrix. I was into Hendrix. You know, we had. I want to know what your entrance into Hendrix was, because I'll tell you mine. Strangely, it was the end. Band of Gypsies.
Oh,
where was
okay? Because you're younger.
Right.
That totally makes sense. So my sister was the record critic at UNM for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would get stacks of records. And this record came, and the picture on the back was absolutely frightening. The picture on the front was frightening too. But at the same time, it was like, that's who I want to be. Wow. And then take the record out and start playing it. I was already interested in guitars and drums and rock. I mean, my love of music comes purely from Top 40 radio in the 60s, which was phenomenal. I mean, the Beatles, Peter, Paul and Mary, Otis Redding, B.B. King, all the Jimmy Webb songs, Glenn Campbell. I mean, just, the whole, it was so diverse and so wide open.
Yeah, that's how
different
radio
styles.
used to be then.
Yeah, it was amazing. And those songs made me walk on air, and then, so when I saw this Hendrix record, I thought, what is this? And I started playing it. And it literally was like the sky started turning into colors and everything started opening. I just was this unimaginable palette of sonic stuff that just made me, I mean, I can't say, it's going to sound really corny, but I started dreaming about all kinds of things. And I got hooked, and I started playing guitar at 12. And I knew that I would never be Jimi Hendrix, but I started to try and learn the stuff. And it was more the idea that you could be that free as a human being, basically.
That's
because
beautiful.
maybe my dad had a job and he didn't love his job, but he did it well, and he didn't seem like the happiest guy in the world, and we weren't the happiest family, and so music was my savior, right?
Yeah.
And I look at that and go, I could live that life. Yeah.
That's
So it
awesome.
was not just about the guitar playing, but then the guitar playing, I mean, the colors. It was incredibly aggressive at times, and then incredibly like vulnerable and sweet and delicate at times.
Yeah.
You could go through both extremes and everything in between.
Yeah.
And then I loved his voice and I loved his lyrics.
Yeah.
It was.
I love hearing this because this is really.
You're going, yeah, yeah.
No, it's really great. It's
yeah.
reminding me of the power of that, just how it impacted you, and how it impacted.
And then you look at you see the films of Townsend and Eric Clapton talking about the first time they saw him, and they're kind of going like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Everybody felt like I'm done. Like, oh God,
Which is what would happen.
What's going to happen to us?
Oh man, it's so wonderful.
I mean, God, it's just, I love hearing that. Just because I feel what you're saying so much. It is like another world, another universe opening up, right?
Yeah.
And what you said, it represents so much more than just playing guitar or music. It is really like, you're discovering yourself through that. It's helping you discover who you are and what's possible in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it was like people discover that they can be artists, and they'll deal with whatever hardships or whatever separates them from the rest of society by becoming artists. But that's what I saw. Well, I don't care what else happens in my life. If I can be an artist, I'm going to be an artist because he's an artist.
It's like people, when they talk about life in the arts or pursuing something like this, I think people look at it like, there's sacrifices, there's compromises, but it's not really that. What it is there's not even a choice. You're compelled to do it. So it's not like you sit there and make a, kind of try to calculate. It's not a calculated decision. Should I be an artist? It's just, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And, the Colonel Bruce Hampton once said, if you don't have to play music, you're crazy to do it.
Right.
And he says, if you have to do it, you're crazy not to,
Truth. And it still saves me. I sit there late at night and I play whatever project I'm working on, and I begin to feel like, bright lights, big city. I could be driving somewhere in a fast car, or I could be on stage at the Forum, I used to listen to KLOS every night and work on my pedal board, and I would get transported to that. I would listen to like the Chili Peppers, whoever they were playing at the time or whatever, or Chris Cornell or whatever in Soundgarden, and it was like, rock. Even though I'm not a rock star, I feel like I'm on stage at the Forum, and it still takes me there. Even this week, I'll sit there at night and play my guitar on something I'm working on, and it's like I see the lights, and I think, I'm on stage somewhere in my mind. Even it's wonderful. It's
It's
so satisfying.
It's really nice.
And yet at the same time, I'm really a shy performer. I don't even like to perform anymore, but at home,
I just saw a video of you on YouTube that came up with you with Rick Springfield on stage. Actually, it looked and sounded great to me.
I think.
And you played with me at the Mint once.
Oh, that was so fun. Yeah,
That was awesome to have you there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're great on stage. I don't know how you may not feel. I don't know how you feel, but
Yeah.
anyway.
There's probably other performers who are that way too. They transcend their shyness and
Yeah.
get on stage. But you do it so much, you just feel at home, I'm sure.
Well, it's what I'm most accustomed
Yeah.
to, as opposed to
Yeah.
you've done so much session work. Like you've played on countless albums throughout the 80s, 90s up to now. And I can't even, I could begin to name them. I mean, there's some, like you played big pop stuff from Whitney Houston to Adele. You've done rock stuff, pop stuff. I mean,
I'll tell you maybe the three that stand out. And my busiest period was the 90s, but I still worked every day in a lot of the 2000s, and I worked a lot in the 80s. Some of that was touring with Springfield. So
Right.
in the 80s, I did Bon Jovi's Runaway, which was a song you would hear at Trader Joe's.
I remember that. I used to go, that's Tim Pearson playing that solo.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, and then in the late 80s, one of the best things I got to do was Crowded Houses, Don't Dream It's Over.
God, I love that song. I love that.
And then probably the biggest standout would have been the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris, which if you don't know the song, it was
it.
When it came out, it was for about 18 months. It was the most played song
Huge hit.
in the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it's incredible to be on these songs that are so universally known, or just like millions of people listening to.
Few.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
But mostly just helping artists. A lot of people I did 5 Kenny Loggins records.
Right.
It's just there's a lot of stuff in the middle that
Yeah.
I just got to work on because I was working all the time.
Yeah. It's really something. I mean, yeah, the list goes on and on. If you read Tim's
It's easy to
credentials,
find.
it's
I always tell my wife, I tell people, just Google me, and my wife gets really mad because she thinks it sounds, but it's really the easiest thing to do.
Well, you can't sit here and list everything. If they want to know, that's really the best way.
Well, and don't you find it's kind of, what have you done? And you don't want to go, well, I've done this, and this. It doesn't feel good to kind of toot your horn that way. It's almost better to say, oh, just check out this link.
Yeah. Yeah, it saves time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, it's this very impressive list, and I think you're one of the main guys. I mean, that's a different world. You were playing on a million records, and I was playing, pounding the pavement. So we had a different trajectory in our careers, as far as that goes. But I so much admire, because you have to get into the studio and make it great immediately. Nobody's letting you go in the corner and work it out. Like they're saying, we're going now. Yeah. Play something amazing that a million people are going to hear right now.
Yeah, that's
so your brain has to immediately go to what works,
Yeah, there's no time to get a sound.
Yeah, it's like
maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah,
maybe a minute, and then you have to deliver them something that's going to transform their song.
Yeah,
and you can strike out a few times, but after 10 minutes, you better have something that's got them waving their hands and cheering. And then, of course, if it's a tracking day, you have to get your part together.
Yeah,
and the first take. The thing is, you're always dealing with drummers and bass players who are first take animals. Right. So what they do is just that way. A drummer's first take is pretty much usually what it is, and the bass player's that way too. Usually, just because that frequency down there. Mm-hmm. And so, but guitar, the challenge with guitar is that it becomes orchestration and arrangement. And so you go, well, what guitarist am I? Am I from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? Am I, Link Ray, or am I Brian Setzer, or am I Eric Clapton, or am I The Edge, or am I John Mayer? And it all gets, or you go to all the R&B stuff.
Yeah.
So you have this encyclopedia of stuff at your command, and that's kind of there's a lot of options and a lot of choices, and that's one of the challenges of it.
And how do you know what out of the countless options and choices, how do you know what they're thinking and the artist is thinking or the producer is thinking?
Well, you know the answer to that question because you've been on both sides of it.
Right.
So you put out something it's kind of easy to intuit sometimes what their tastes are just when you first meet them, You
have to be gauging all of that stuff.
Right. If I listen to your music, I can go, oh, I know what he likes.
Right. Sure.
And so I'll offer up something that works in that realm. And then if you don't like it, I'll say, help me with this. What are you thinking? And you'll give me an idea because what I always did is I would always ask for help in the room if I ran up against just a question mark. What do you think? What should I do?
Right.
I'd ask Kate, what do you think? And everybody, can offer. And I know movie sets are like that too. If a lot of directors want every idea from everybody, and that's how I solved that problem. And then the other way I solved it is that I was always really enamored with the keyboard players who were producers.
Oh yeah.
Because these were the guys, if you ran up against an odd section or an odd chord or whatever, they go, try this. Ding, ding, ding. They give you a little 3-note thing to get through.
Right.
Or those are the people who could always just get you out of the weeds or the maze the quickest.
Actually, I was listening to Steve Lukather, on Rick's thing.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And he talked about how, like, that guy saving his ass in a session,
Oh, yeah,
the other
yeah.
guitar players.
Yeah.
Like, he's reading this, he's looking at this thing, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he just like, whoa, just like the last minute.
Greatest story.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's just like, and people coming to people's aid or rescue like that. I just love that spirit of like, we're in this together. And, I don't want to see you fail. I want to see you succeed.
It's got to be that way in the studio. It has to.
Mm-hmm. But now this is what I meant to ask. At the Jimi Hendrix album, which album was it you were speaking of?
Okay, so it was Are You Experienced?
Okay, that was
Okay, then it was Axis. Then it was Electric Ladyland.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then you'll have to help me on this because then it was both Cry of Love and Band of Gypsies.
Oh yeah.
So I can't remember exactly which came out first, but I was obsessed with both of those records too.
I feel like Band of Gypsies did, but those were like.
Yeah, it did. It was to honor his deal with Capitol that he never honored.
Exactly, he had to put out the live.
Right. Yeah, and that one, that was the most otherworldly. It was like he was possessed by God.
Yeah, yeah. I can't even put. There's moments in that record.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a point in Machine Gun where I just something happens to me. I'm just like. It's just he gets up there on the neck and he's just milking this one particular note.
I know.
Yeah,
yeah. And the univibe, it's just kicking in a little bit. You can't hear a lot of it.
And it's just like, oh my God.
Oh.
I feel like I'm like, what is happening?
It's sending chills down my back right now. We're not alone in this either.
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I just remember I did not know music could be like this. And that was, so I bought that used, I think, at Natural Sound or Budget Rotation Records in Albuquerque. I walked home. I remember it was wintertime in the dark. My Uncle Doug was staying with us. I had Derek and the Dominoes, Layla, and I had Jimi Hendrix. And I remember, my Uncle Doug being like, oh, wow, you got some good records there. But then my dad bought Are You Experienced for me. That was the second record. So it went way to the end, to the beginning, went backwards, right? So you went chronologically.
I did.
Yeah.
I did because I was there when it came out.
Right. So you went right. So you were just And so I think
I was just at the age of, discovering everything in life at 12.
Yeah.
There it was.
Wow.
Or maybe it was 10. I don't know. When did Are You Experienced come out? No,
67.
67. So I was 9. That's right.
Wow.
Oh my. So that ignited everything. It's even more true.
9 years old.
Because I didn't start playing until 12. So.
Wow. That's wild.
Oh my.
Well, I'm gonna have to have another.
No, come on.
And kind of ponder that for a minute. You know what? That is delicious. Wow.
It tastes better as it warms up too.
Yeah, I know. It's a funny thing about ice cream.
Yeah.
It stays cold as it warms up. Your playing is so informed by so many things that you have a style that's all your own, but yet you are informed by so many things that you can go any direction and you can play appropriately, whether it's a pop song, a country song, a grunge song, blues song. So that's one of the things I admire about you is that you keep yourself and your personality. And I know when you're playing on a track for, a pop star or something that you do have to serve the song. And sometimes that means you're just blending in or just serving that. And you're maybe not being as you, but you're still being you. You're making that choice to do what you do in that song and you're playing it the way you play it. So I think that the way you inject yourself into everything you do is really impressive,
Well, lack of versatility is a great thing. If you're pushing the one thing you do the best to the forefront, that makes you an artist.
Yeah.
Your limitations are many, but you do this one thing that's so extraordinary that it pushes you, it makes you world famous. Many guitar players are like that.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with being a studio musician is that you can't afford to do that. You have to kind of imitate everybody and do everything. And
Yeah.
the thing about my job is it made me too precise. I can't play like Hendrix because he's floating rhythmically ahead and behind, and
Yeah.
it's this beautiful thing. I had to give up all that because I had to be precise.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. There are two things that I lost being a studio musician. Two things that I do that I'm trying to win back now that I have more time, and I do less sessions now because my web business is my focus.
Yeah.
A teaching business, but I play too precise and I underplay, which are both huge assets in the studio because you want to leave space for everybody, the vocalist.
Right.
You want to orchestrate different sounds, different parts, different overdubs.
Yeah.
So I'm less versatile now, and I love it because I feel like I'm 12 again, and I'm just trying to do my own thing now. And my own thing really is kind of melodic soloing. Really, it's what I like to do the best.
You know, I was loving the video you did on the Blur song. You know, and talking about how that really crappy kind of clangy.
Yeah, so that's me attempting to be looser. And, you know, I was able to do that. One of the reasons I started working so much in the 90s is when Nirvana showed up and kind of changed the whole music industry, I was the guy that could sound like the guy in the band, but I was also the guy that could do it reliably and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a practical job. Studio work is just all practical skills. But I could actually sound a little more rough around the edges. And I actually picked too hard and played too hard, which I know you and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
And that's not the best thing on a guitar, but that's what's so exciting a lot of the time, you know? So that's why I started to work a lot, is because music became more simple and more raw. And I was the studio guitar player that could actually sound like that.
Yeah. I love talking to you about stuff. What we do have, in addition to this wonderful ice cream and these wonderful guitars, James Trussart made these guitars. I've got a few of my own, but this one is not my own. This one is one I just picked off the wall. Yeah. That was real nice. Thanks. Well, it's been a pleasure, Tim. Thank you for coming and hanging out and enjoying some ice cream and guitars.
One thing I'd like, if you can promise me.
For you, anything.
Let me come back.
Oh, God, yeah. That's easy. That's an easy one. There's plenty more guitar players to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. See you next time.